Hello everybody! So I wanted to post a mini review of Mario Kart World. I don't really know what to put in the background, so I tried to find some scenic spot in free roam. Gave me an excuse to drive around it a bit, and this is what I found. This is a kind of good spot. So we're just gonna park and talk about Mario Kart World, basically. I'm just gonna be looking at my, like, little bit of notes that I did. And I basically just want to run through my positives, neutrals, and negatives in that order. What I think about the game, yada yada. I'm a casual, so, you know, I'm coming at it from that perspective. But hey, let's talk about it. So, things I liked. New mechanics, ride rails, walls, and the charge jump are all really cool. I think they blend in very naturally. They don't take a whole lot of time to learn, and it feels like it really adds to a lot of the track design, especially seeing some of the retro tracks come back and be really improved by these new mechanics like Wario Stadium was really cool. It feels like it just adds a whole lot of new depth to the game, and it's very fun to play. They're honestly my most favorite addition so far. The tracks themselves I also like a lot. I don't think, it has all of the best tracks or anything, but I think that the track design is generally a lot better in this game. I feel like there's a lot more alternate routes, which is kind of what was missing a lot of the time, and I personally just have a lot more fun with them. I think in general the main tracks are just more interesting in this game, and again, it really plays into the new features they added. Some smaller stuff real quick. The character options, they're pretty cool. I like them. I'm a fan of all the different characters. I'm not a fan of how we unlock them, but we'll talk about that later. The rewind feature is awesome. Being able to, go back a little bit is very cool. So, I like that. That's an interesting addition, and it actually has ruined my little scenic look that we had, though. Let's get back to that camera view, I guess, or at least try to. There we go. That's, good enough. Right? And then Knockout Tour, the new mode they added. I also really liked. It felt unique. It felt different. I enjoyed playing it. It was, it's just a good shake-up to the base formula of Mario Kart that I thought was very fun. And I feel like it really was the best thing to take advantage of 24 racers. Like, Knockout Tour would not work with less racers, but it does work quite well here. Things I am neutral about. I did not play much of free roam, because free roam really isn't for me. I think it's cool as, an option, being able to look around and explore the world. It's just not something that I do. But, I will acknowledge that for some people, this is probably a huge plus for the game. For me, it's there. It's useful for the shot, so that's nice. 24 racers. I am neutral on the idea of 24 racers. I like it in a mode like Knockout Tour. In the base game, I don't know. I feel like there's a little too much stuff on the track. I feel like you can get sent back so far in positions. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm kind of a net neutral. It's cool sometimes, it's not cool some other times. The new water mechanics. Some of the visuals are really cool. Being able to ride, the waves and trick off of those, or, the Cheap Cheap Falls track, those have really cool uses of it. But sometimes the water stuff is also just, really slow and really boring. The end of Peach Beach Lap 3 is just, It feels so bad. The water is a bit slow, so if it's not added to, it can have its weaker moments. Ultimately, I feel it's something you really have to build the tracks around, just like underwater mechanics in Mario Kart 7 or 8. So I don't think it's a strict upgrade or downgrade. It just depends how they use it. I wish there was both, but I understand that would have been kind of awkward. Next up is gliding. Gliding feels better than 8, but not than 7. I can't really go in much more detail than that because it's kind of just a feel thing. But I still, in my head, feel like 7 did a bit more in terms of, shortcuts and things to do. And the gliding, it felt like you were incentivized to glide as long as possible in that game. And then just some stuff like descending from the top of Maku Woohoo. There's no glider segments like that since that, feel anywhere near as cool. So, stuff like that would have been cool. The bridge from Yoshi's Story activating by gliding into it was cool. Stuff like that. I feel like gliding is a little underbaked still. Alright, and let's talk about the negatives. I have 3 big negatives. Intermissions! I don't like them. I know, unpopular opinion here. I wanted to try the intermissions. I wanted to like them. I think like most people in the game. But I didn't like it. I'm gonna be honest. I felt very bored driving on 90% of them. There are 10% of intermissions that are actually pretty cool. There are a few in there that are fun to drive on. But the majority of them are not. And worse than that, I think the intermissions actually make the game worse. So, when I started playing this game, and I played Grand Prix, if you watch my streams, I felt really annoyed about how long, like, I couldn't learn the tracks, it felt like. Because when you play Grand Prix, like, the first track is normal, which sometimes they do not pick the first track very well. Like, why are we doing 5 laps on Koopa Beach, of all things? But, like, after the first course, you have to drive to the next course, and because of that, you only get 1 lap on it. And it's like, when you have these courses with so many different branching paths to them, like Whistletop Summit, or Shy Guy Bazaar, or Bone Dry, whatever it's called, the Dry Bone stage, I feel like I never really got to learn them fully until I went and played them in versus mode later. And again, online, it's the same deal, because now you're almost always playing intermissions. Like, it feels super annoying to try to learn the tracks in normal races. It feels like you have to do, like, strict versus modes against CPUs, or you have to go into time trials and play it by yourself. But, like, I normally just try to learn the tracks while playing the game. Like, I don't really drill shortcuts or anything. But there's, like, no real good way to do that. And I really, really hate that. I think it's a big problem. And it also clearly ate into the time to make regular tracks, because there's only 30 of them. Like, some of the tracks that you go to aren't even fully complete. Some of the other tracks are, like, segmented and you don't get to use all of them. Like, you go to Crown City, and Crown City's supposed to have sections, but you never get to see some of those sections in, like, the Grand Prix or online. That kind of stuff really sucks. I just feel like it takes away more of the game than it adds. Like, they very clearly had to make these roads to go from one place to another, and it compromised the track design way too much. Like, if it could be worked around well, they were not able to do so the majority of the time. The unlock system and the roster screen. Oh my god, I don't know how either of these made it into the game. Like, trying to pick a character and scrolling through and having, like, alternate costumes sorted as different characters. A thing they did properly in Mario Kart 8, by the way. Like, I don't know why they did that. It looks so bad. The character select screen is awful. Unlocking characters is annoying. I don't want to do that. And then lastly, this one might be more personal. 200cc. Why? Why no 200cc? Like, I felt 200cc would have been really good for this game, especially for the intermissions. I felt like they would have at least been more fun if I was driving faster. But, like, no 200cc at all? Like, not even as an option? I hope it's added later, but, like, wow. I felt it would have been so good for this game. My overall thoughts on Mario Kart World, I didn't expect it to be, like, a perfect game or anything. Because it was very clear when I saw it was, like, an open world Mario Kart where you can drive anywhere and there's, like, 24 races. It's like, well, this is clearly a shakeup. It's clearly going to be shifting the formula because of how, you know, how good Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was at, like, adapting to normal stuff. And I felt that was kind of necessary. Like, in terms of advertising the game, I come from the Splatoon series, and I see a whole lot of, oh, it's just the same game type of deal from Splatoon. And I feel like Mario Kart had that pressure to, like, this game has to be distinct, but it cannot, like, there's no way we're gonna have more content than we have in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with all the DLC. So we have to really make it stand out, so let's do this open world thing. And, like, you know, it's impressive. A lot of the dev interview I saw was about how impressive it was, for sure. But I definitely still do question in my mind if they just built this, like, you know, if they dropped the open world stuff and just had, like, a bunch more tracks and played around the mechanics really well, or maybe just had some feature to, like, warp from one track to another for stuff like Knockout Tour, like you do a lap and it just brings you to another track through, like, a portal or something. You know, if all that dev time was sunk into other parts of the game, would it have ended up being a better game? And I don't know, really. I think the open world stuff really is benefited best if you do things like free roam or maybe even Knockout Tour, even though it doesn't use all the intermissions. But those aren't the base game. If you're here for the base game of Mario Kart, then I think the open world stuff does, for the most part, kind of get in the way of it. And it's especially present online where, like, you can't even get around the intermissions because they took away the option for them. Would that get better later? Maybe. I don't know. But that's what I think about it. Honestly, if this game wasn't $80, I think the controversy around it would, like, disappear. If this was, like, a normal $60 or maybe even $70 game, I don't think people would complain that much about this kind of stuff. But, like, if you're gonna price the game this highly, this crazy price point, then it has to be really damn polished and good. And the truth of the matter is, the intermissions and some other smaller aspects of the game aren't an $80 quality. They just aren't at that level. They don't play at that point to me. You know? So, like, if I couldn't get this game with the bundle to make the game $50, I don't know if I would have gotten it. I still really respect what this game is. Again, like, look at this fucking background, dude. Look at this. This is an impressive looking game. I respect everything they tried to do with it. I still like the open world in concept. I think if you're, like, just exploring the world and you like that kind of thing, it's gotta be an amazing experience. But it definitely hampers a bit from the base game. That said, I think it's a good game of Mario Kart. I have fun with it. I will definitely still play it. Just, please give me an update where I can just pick the normal races, add 200, maybe add some DLC courses. DLC could do a lot. I hope there's a lot of free DLC. That would go a long way in justifying the price point, too. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. I'm kind of neutral with Mario Kart World. I overall like it, but it definitely has its fair share of problems to me. So, you know, that's my review. Thanks for watching.